Greetings, Blue Jackets fans. Welcome to Boom and Gloom, a Columbus Blue Jackets fan podcast where I discuss the boom and the gloom, which is the good and the bad of CBJ hockey. My name is Anthony. You might see me on social media as Whaler Jacket, and I am North America's longest suffering hockey fan. I was a fan of the Whale, the Hartford Whalers, back in the day, and now I'm a Blue Jackets fan. So if you put that all together, it's been over 40 years, and I'm still waiting for my favorite NHL team to have sustained success, like at least get past the second round of the playoffs. So yeah, North America's longest suffering hockey fan, and I want to say thank you for joining me today. If you're new to the podcast, just please remember, I'm not a hockey expert. I'm not a Blue Jackets expert. I'm just a regular fan. You know, I like to talk about the Jackets. I don't have many opportunities to do so because I don't have many close friends that are big Blue Jackets fans. So this little podcast kind of gives me a chance to talk about them and kind of, get it out of my system. I don't have any sponsors. I don't beg for likes, subscribers, or followers. I just do this as a labor of love here in my home office. You may hear my dogs in the background shaking their collars, being annoying, but that's just, like I said, this is just, and I'm just an average guy sitting in my home office. Before I go any further, I want to say this. If you are listening to this podcast right now, chances are you are a Blue Jackets fan. And you're pretty much going to already know what I'm about to tell you, like what I'm about to talk to you about. This episode is not really about educating listeners or sharing new, unique insight, or my perspective. What this episode is really about is commiseration. Misery loves company. And right now I need some. And if you're listening to this, you're a fan of the Jackets, chances are you need some too. I've always found it kind of helpful to hear and read other people's thoughts about the Jackets. It kind of makes me feel like I'm not all alone in this, like we're suffering together. I mean, this is our pathetic excuse for an NHL hockey franchise. So yeah, I didn't even expect to be recording another episode so soon, like since my last episode. But not only am I on spring break, I'm a teacher, if you didn't already know, but a lot has happened. I spent almost the entirety of my last episode basically eating crow. Basically apologizing for all my wrong predictions. Apologizing for all the negative things that I was saying about the Blue Jackets. Pretty much all season. And although I maintain my prediction that the Jackets would not make the playoffs this year, I've been saying that since the start of the season, that I believe they would fall just short again. Okay, so let me be clear on that. But even though I maintain that prediction, I have to admit, I was starting to believe. I started to believe the hype. And I let myself get caught up in it. Stupidly. I thought, you know what? After 25 years of misery, maybe this really was the Jackets' time to shine. Maybe this was different. Maybe it was okay to be positive for once. And what happened? Well, let me put it this way. I can't steal this phrase without crediting the person. The person I saw post this on Blue Sky. So credit where credit is due. Thank you, Robert, for posting this. Okay, he said, and I think this perfectly applies to the Blue Jackets. You can never count this team in. You can never count this team in. I just absolutely love that phrase. It really resonated with me because it fits the Jackets so perfectly. You know, most teams you might say, you can never count this team out because they work hard. They never give up, never surrender, to quote the movie Galaxy Quest. But not this team. Not the Columbus Blue Jackets. You can never count this team in. It applies to games, as they have blown so many third period leads this year. But it also applies to the season as a whole. Just when you think they may have turned the corner, just when they start giving a glimmer of hope, even to the most negative and pessimistic fans out there, like myself, just when they start seeing people jump on their bandwagon, the bottom falls out. It all comes crumbling down. The Jackets made it all the way to second place in the Metropolitan Division. Second place. They have never finished higher than third place in a division in their 25-year history, by the way. So second place in the Metro, and what do? They lose 4 out of their next 5 games. All 1-goal games, by the way. 1 in a shootout. But none of that really matters because the team needs wins. They know they need wins, but they have been failing to get them. There were all these experts out there making predictions left to right. And I saw the odds. Yeah, I saw them. When the Jackets held second place, they were given an 84% chance of making the playoffs. They were up to number 6 in the entire league in those NHL power rankings that they put out. Now, after the last 5 games, their playoff chances have dipped to below 50%. 47% to be exact, looking at that latest model that I saw. So just when you think the Jackets are on pace to get over that hump, like Robert said, you can never count this team in. Never. They have disappointed us fans year in and year out for a quarter of a century. Why did I stupidly start to believe they had a chance to make this year any different? And is there time to turn things around? Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But let's take a look at their schedule. It is an absolute gauntlet. And I seem to be losing my voice all of a sudden. I don't understand. All day long, my voice has been fine. And now recording a podcast, and I don't know, I'm drinking a lot right now, but I don't know. But anyway, let's take a look. The Blue Jackets schedule. They start off tonight playing the first place Hurricanes, Carolina Hurricanes, 2 games in a row. Once at home, once in Carolina. And sure, they dominated Carolina last time they played. But you know what? That was a different team than it is now. This is a slumping team right now. And I'll talk more about that in a bit. Then they take on Winnipeg at home. And the Winnipeg Jets, right now, they're refusing to go quietly into the night. And they're going to be a tough team to beat. And then, get this. The following week, the Jackets play Detroit, Buffalo, and Montreal. all away games, all on the road. That's a rough 3-game stretch right there. And then, if that's not bad enough, they come home to face the Boston Bruins again. And they do that before, that's their second to last game. They take on the Washington Capitals in the season finale. But I'm not sure that game will even matter at this point. I can see them in my head right now just skating at center ice, saluting the fans after the game, thanking them for their support all season, and then heading back into the locker room to begin their off season. Again. Thanking the fans again for their support during a 6th straight season without the playoffs. It is infuriating. Beyond frustrating. And again, okay, I'll say it. Yes, the Jackets still have a shot. But I'm a pessimist, and this team has given me no reason to change that. 25 years of Jackets hockey, 40 years total of cheering for an unsuccessful NHL team. I think I have earned the right, more than anyone, to be a pessimist. And as the Jackets continue to do, as my dad would say, crap the bed or choke, it makes me wonder something. It makes me think, maybe I think I would have preferred if the Jackets hadn't fired Dean Evason and waited until the offseason. Because you know what? It would have been a lot easier for me to accept another wasted season, like as is, with Dean Evason, rather than have the false sense of hope they have given me since Rick Bowness took over. Until this bad stretch, obviously. Because now it's going to feel 10 times worse. It is one thing for me to expect the Jackets to not make the playoffs from, earlier in the season. Then, suddenly go on this terrific streak to give me all this hope and to allow me to, dare I say, have a lot of fun, because this has been a ton of fun until recently, only for them to crap the bed and fall apart. I think that just only makes it way worse. Because also, okay, now the Jackets are they're going to be in a worse drafting position. There's a big difference between just barely missing the playoffs and finishing second to last in the conference when it comes to drafting position in the draft lottery. And that's where I believe the Jackets would have finished if they held on to Dean Evason. So Don Waddell, he went all in, didn't sell at the deadline, didn't sell at the trade deadline, didn't get any assets for the future. And now, if things keep trending the way they're trending, they're going to get a much lower draft pick compared to what they would have gotten if they had just, kept to their losing ways and finished near the bottom of the conference. I think, looking back, I might have felt better about that rather than this whole recent run that has given us fans a false set of hopes. And I know that hindsight is 20/20, but it sure looks to me like Don Waddell made a sacrifice that is going to come back and bite this team in the butt again. Oh, so looking back at these last 4 losses, it just seems like there's always something new or something different to tick me off each game. Something that happens to the Jackets, or something that the Jackets do, or just, whatever. Something happens. And of course, I'm sure it has ticked off all Blue Jackets fans. And the players, for that matter, and the coaching staff. They're everyone. So let's start with the loss to the New York Islanders. They got shut out. 1-0. Couldn't score a goal. They got quote-unquote goalied again. That seems to happen a lot to this team, doesn't it? Doesn't it seem like they just happen to run into a hot goalie? Or in this case, a goalie, Sorokin, who let in a lot of goals the night before, so he was motivated that night. I'm tired of that. And how many games have they lost to the Islanders this season? 3? 4? I can't remember. All by 1 goal, maybe. I'd have to double check that, though. The Islanders gave up 7 goals to the Canadiens last week, and then 8 to the Pittsburgh Penguins last night. But the Jackets couldn't manage to put 1 puck in the net against them. Incredibly frustrating. So after the Islanders, the next game, they won 3-2 in Philadelphia. Just barely squeaked out a victory with Philly pressing hard at the end. Not their best game, but, they got the 2 points, and that's what really mattered. But I really expected them to come out harder than they did against the Flyers. They did enough to win, but it kind of left me with a bad taste in my mouth. I was thankful for the win, yes, but a bad taste in my mouth. Then they go to Montreal, and guess what? They get goalied again. And this time it wasn't against one of the league's top goaltenders like Sorokin. This was a young kid who just happened to go to Ohio State. And he shut down the Jackets big time. Could not seem to get a good bounce to get past them. And to rub salt in the wound, they lose Damon Severson to injury. Out week to week. Oh, and by the way, I can't remember which game it was. It might have been Montreal when Mason Marchment whiffed. I don't know if he whiffed, but he missed a wide open net with, less than a minute to go in the game. Could have tied it. I think that was Montreal, but I might not be remembering right. But yeah, just can't get the bounces. So Severson's out week to week. The next game was against the Sharks at Nationwide Arena. This was it, right? Kind of an average team coming to town after traveling a long distance, already lost their last 6 games, and the Jackets were playing on their home ice in front of a sellout crowd, absolutely needing a victory. And we all know what happened. They played one of their worst games of the year. Just absolutely listless. No energy, no heart. And of course, the Jackets blow a third period lead. Again, giving up a goal with less than 2 minutes to go in the game. It was downright embarrassing, if you ask me. And they lose Dmitry Voronkov, who finally got back in the lineup, was finally given a chance because Jackets needed some offense, and he gets injured. The very next night, the Boston Bruins come to town. So this was 2 nights ago. Sellout crowd again. And sure, the Jackets were playing a back-to-back, but so were the Bruins. And the Jackets absolutely dominated that first period. They went up 3-0. They outshoot the Bruins. Things are looking up. Still 3-0 after 2 periods. I was watching the game in my basement, my little man cave, and after the second period, I walked upstairs, and my wife asked how the Jackets were doing. I told her the score, and she asked why I didn't seem more excited. And I simply said, because it's the Jackets. I, of course, was able to prove my point after the game ended. The Jackets blew a 3-0 lead. Bruins tie it with 11 seconds to go in the game. No one scores in overtime, and then the Bruins win in a shootout. You know what? Even my 22-year-old son texted me when the Bruins tied it. He is a very passionate Jackets fan as well. And he texted me. Here, let me read this. He wrote, here it is. It's funny how I can check the score in the first period and know exactly what's coming. Yep. As Jackets fans, we all know it. Another blown third period lead. And this time it was worse than ever because they needed this win against the team they're chasing, desperate for a win, and they blew it. This is what the Blue Jackets do. They find new ways to disappoint us every single season. And on top of all that, Matthew Olivier gets injured. So 3 straight games after an overall relatively healthy season, I'd say, the Jackets have lost a player to injury. It's almost comical at this point. A while back, I saw some supposed experts say that at some point it was a statistical probability that at least one team in the playoff race would go on a losing streak and knock themselves out. And right now, it's sure looking like that's going to be the Blue Jackets, doesn't it? Because of course it is. You know, it doesn't seem like we're allowed to have nice things. And that actually brings me to another point, okay? The Jackets continue to get penalized way more often than the other team. And I will absolutely never blame the Jackets missing the playoffs on referees. But I can't help but notice how many soft calls are called against the Blue Jackets. And then, when the same thing seems to happen against the Jackets, like the other team does it, no calls. And I never really noticed, I never really paid attention until Rick Bowness mentioned it at a press conference. Like how the team doesn't get any respect. And, you know, pointed out the statistic. And it is a statistic. This is a fact. That the Jackets get far fewer power plays than any other team. Well, then I started looking. Then I started, you know, really paying attention and assessing. And believe me, if you would watch a game with me, I'm the guy who says, when the other team gets called for a penalty, oh, that wasn't a penalty. That was a soft call. Or Jackets got lucky there. Because I call it like I see it. Whether it's my favorite team or not. And I see a lot of soft calls going against the Jackets. A lot. And again, I will never say that the Jackets missing the playoffs is due to that fact. Due to the refs not making enough calls in their favor. Because let's be real anyway, the Jackets' power play is nothing to brag about. But it is something worth noting, especially when the Blue Jackets are getting called for penalties and giving the other team's power plays. And speaking of penalties, Boone Jenner got 2 penalties 2 nights ago against the Bruins. I thought one was soft and the other was borderline. But both times I thought Charlie McAvoy embellished it. But of course, no call for that on him. And of course, the Bruins score on both of those penalties. And Boone got one of them right at the end of the game, giving Boston a 6-on-4 power play because they had the goalie pulled. Just absolutely ridiculous of Boone, okay? I mean, he's the captain, and he's taking these bad penalties at just horrible times. And there was a lot of talk all over the internet after the game regarding Boone. A lot of people were calling for his head, saying he should be benched, held accountable just like every other player on the team. And some are even saying that he should not be re-signed over the summer. So I wanted to give you my take on this, okay? I'm not sure I agree about pulling him out of the lineup right now, because I'm not sure with all the injuries that you'll have a better option. I'm just not sure. I do agree that he keeps showing signs of age and has been slow. Not the physical player that we would expect him to be. But I also agree that he should not be re-signed this summer. I mean, I felt at the deadline that he should have been traded. Okay, they should have gotten some assets for Boone Jenner. What Boone Jenner brings to this team is not enough to justify the team holding on to him. And I'm sorry to say that. I know there's a lot of Boone fans out there, but that's just my opinion. I mean, it sucks to say that because he's been a Blue Jacket his entire career. But at some point, the culture needs to change. There needs to be, a changing of the guard. I mean, under his leadership, how many playoff berths has this team earned? How many? I don't even know. Like, I seriously don't know. I'm asking that out loud, and I don't know. 1, 2, maybe? I don't know. None? I mean, for all I know, I can't remember when Foligno left. Captain Boone became the captain. I don't know if they've earned a playoff spot since then. I don't know. And what kind of leader is he really? I mean, I saw, on the screen during the game, looking at Zach Werenski barking orders during the timeout, talking strategy with the team. That is leadership right there. So I am all for this team moving on this summer from Boone Jenner. But I'm not convinced that the general manager and the ownership group will see it the same way. My gut tells me that they want to hold on to Boone. And I feel like once again, if they do that, they are making a decision with their heart instead of their brain. And that would be a huge mistake for this franchise. Another player who was benched and did not play against the Bruins was Kent Johnson. And I just don't understand this one. Okay, I can't say I'm a huge Kent Johnson fan. I'm not. And I understand that he needs to play better overall. But he scored a goal, and I thought he looked good against Seattle. Then in the next game against the Islanders, no one scored. So you can't really hold that against Kent Johnson. I mean, nobody was able to score. Then, during the game against Philadelphia, he gets demoted to the fourth line. And even with that, he still came within an inch of a goal. He rang it off one of the posts. An inch to the left, he has a goal. You put him on a line with Sean Monahan, who I'll talk about here shortly, hasn't scored a goal in ages, has been a shell of himself. And what do you expect? KJ is having a downright awful year. I get it. I admit it. But just when he starts showing signs of life, you bench him? And you think that Danton Heinen or Miles Wood gives you a better chance at getting more offense? And you know what? The Kent Johnson, the dude is a shootout master. That could have really helped out the Jackets against the Bruins 2 nights ago. I have talked numerous times on this podcast about what to do with Kent Johnson after the season is over, considering the season he has had. And there are lots of people out there suggesting that the team needs to trade him. I say, only do that if you are going to get an absolute stud in return. Because here's my thinking about KJ. He's still young. And saying he has had a bad season would be a massive understatement. 2 seasons ago, when the season started, he seemed like the best player on the team right out of the gate. Then he got injured. Kind of derailed his season. Then last year, he takes off and we see what this guy is truly capable of. He has a great season, 24 goals. And then this season, it has been just gut-wrenching to watch. I truly feel sorry for the kid because, as a hockey player myself, I know what it's like to, want to play better, to contribute to your team, to know how well you can play and not be there. And I can only imagine it on his level when he's playing at a professional level. I truly feel sorry for him. But here's my thinking, okay? And I admit that my thoughts have changed a little bit since earlier this season. So my thinking is, why trade him? Why trade him this summer? He's still young. He has had 1 bad year. The last 2 seasons, he showed a lot of promise. He showed what he is capable of. So why give up this early? Especially, okay, this is a huge thing right here. When he is making pennies right now, his salary is ridiculously low. Let's see if I have it up here still. Yeah, he's making $1.8 million. $1.8 million. That's a heck of a deal for someone who put up numbers like last year. And granted, I know he's not put up numbers like that this year. Okay? But he will be going into the final year of his contract next season before becoming a free agent. And I think he becomes a restricted free agent. I would hope that he would be motivated to not only show that this season was a complete fluke, but that he is ready to earn some big bucks for his next contract. So my vote is keep the guy. Unless you're going to get an Austin Matthews or a Jason Robertson, hold on to him. Let's see if he can rebound. If so, you got him for a contract where he's making pennies compared to others on the team. And if he doesn't earn it, well then yeah, you can seek to trade him. But I think giving him away this summer for a bag of pucks would be silly. Because if you trade him, I guarantee he pulls a Chinnikov and begins lighting it up elsewhere. For the price, I think he is worth holding on to and seeing how he does next season. And now, let's talk about Sean Monahan, shall we? As I said before, he is just an absolute shell of his former self this season. And some speculate that he's been fighting an injury, but I don't know what the heck is wrong with him. But this is the guy who was our first line center last season. This is the guy who centered one of the most dominant 5-on-5 lines in the entire NHL last season. Now, he just looks like a below average player. He looks slow. He looks disengaged. He had 19 goals and 38 assists last year, 57 points. This season, he has 12 goals and 23 assists, 35 points. And I'm just estimating here, but if he keeps going at this pace, I think it's like I want to say it's like a 40% decrease, maybe a little less. Now, granted, he's been playing with different line mates on a different line, but he's only playing there because he was no longer the best option at center for the first line. And I kind of feel like he should be elevating the play of those around him on the second line. Instead, he's just there. You know, I know that last season he was playing with a lot of emotion, all right? Playing with a purpose. He was playing for his best friend, Johnny. This year, I've read that some people believe that this season is like the next stage of grief for him. And everyone handles tragedy in their own way, and this could just be Monty dealing with it. A season-long slump where he's just not himself. Just dealing with the loss. So I began to wonder if maybe he needs a change of scenery. Perhaps more than any other player. Maybe he needs to get away from the team on which he was supposed to be reunited with his best friend. Maybe he needs to escape the constant reminders of him, in the locker room, around the arena. I can only imagine how hard that is for him. So it's not like I'm just trying to dump the guy, all right? I'm saying maybe it might help him to move on. The problem is if he were to be traded, he would have to initiate it. He has a no movement clause for the remainder of his contract, which expires in 2030. So he's going to be here for a while. And he would either have to ask for a trade, or Don Waddell would have to approach him and ask if he would waive the no movement clause. And I kind of think if Don Waddell did that, that would kind of come across as a slap in the face to him after everything he's been through. Okay, what else? All right, the Jackets. Oh, the Jackets currently find themselves in a scoring slump, very similar to last season around this time. I think they went through a 4-game homestand scoring a total of 1 goal, if I'm not mistaken. They were shut out 3 times and then lost like 2-1 to the Devils or something like that. So granted, it's not that bad, but they have found a way to, of course, do this at the worst possible time. Kirill Marchenko, oh my gosh, okay, he has to be one of the streakiest scorers this team has ever had. The dude will score 10 games in a row and then disappear for 15. And of course, right now, he is currently going through one of his magical disappearing acts. If this team is going to snap out of it, Kirill Marchenko, has got to snap out of it. The Jackets need their top-line winger, their number 1 goal scorer, doing just that. Actually scoring goals. It's just amazing to me how this team has found a way to have everyone in a slump at the same time. Because even Zach Werenski hasn't scored in the last few games. And a guy who is actually kind of hot, Matthew Olivier, is now injured. It's just uncanny how this always happens to the Blue Jackets. Or at least how it seems. Can't have just one guy go through a rough stretch. No, you have to have basically the whole team. Goaltending has been fine. Not spectacular, but fine. Last season, do you remember this? Last season we all said, just imagine how good this team would be with just average NHL goaltending. Well, you know what? We have that. We have that this season. What we don't have is the offense. The offense that this team showed last season. So I'm just about done here. Just one more quick thought, a question actually. Should we as fans just be happy that we are playing meaningful games in March? Ask yourself that, okay? And if your answer is yes, we should be happy, then I don't know what to tell you, okay? Because at this point, at this stage in their existence, with the lack of success this franchise has experienced, we should absolutely not be content with just getting hockey in March. Meaningful hockey in March. No. A quarter of a century with one playoff round win to show for it. That is downright embarrassing. As fans, we need to demand better. We need to expect better. The team has had plenty of time, 25 years, plenty of time to get their act together. The team needs to demand better of themselves. I am not just happy playing meaningful games in March anymore. We deserve better. So that is why, even though I predicted the Jackets would miss the playoffs from the beginning of the season, I said that, I am still going to be angry if they don't make it. Because I am just so darn tired of this. Do you know how much money I have spent on Blue Jackets merchandise and tickets? A lot. A ton. And it doesn't even compare to what other fans have paid. Because I live in the Dayton area. Okay, so I don't even get to many Blue Jackets games. But we fans, we have put in our time. We have put in our money. It is well past time we had a winning team to finally be proud of in Columbus. So I'm going to leave you today with a thought from another fan that I read on Reddit. And I can't remember his name. I should have written this down and I didn't. And I'm too lazy now to go back and try to find it. But here's what he said. Paraphrased, of course. He said, I don't care, or he doesn't care if he is called a fair weather fan or if people say he's not a true fan. But he is taking a break from watching the team until they become a better team. Until they start making the playoffs. He said he's tired of spending money on tickets and FanDuel just to go through the same crap season after season after season. He is a passionate fan and is emotionally invested in the Blue Jackets. To see something he loves just fall apart and come up short every season has just gotten to be too much for him. So he wants to wait until he truly has something to cheer for before he starts getting, emotionally invested again. My response to what he posted? Amen, brother. I 100% totally understand what he is saying. And I personally would never call anyone a fair weather fan or, not a true fan of the team. Would never call anybody that for saying what he said. If anything, I would say he is more of a fan than others because he is so passionate and loves the team so much that it's affecting his well-being. It's affecting his mental health. So I respect his decision. Remember, everyone, I'm not just a Jackets fan. Okay, I was a Whaler fan. I've suffered more than all of you. And there have been many times when I've felt exactly like this guy who posted this. I take it hard. I love hockey so much. Is it really that much to ask to see my favorite team get past the second round of the playoffs once in my 40 years of being a fan of NHL hockey? I don't think that's too much to ask. It is almost cruel and unusual punishment to think of how passionate of a fan I am and how little I've been able to enjoy the success of my favorite teams. Because they have not been successful. I just can't believe we're going through this again in 2026. You would think at some point, good luck would find this team and just be enough to get them over that hump. You know, like a lucky second round pick that becomes the next Nikita Kucherov. Or even having who we have now, Fantilli, Johnson, Sillinger, all high first round picks. Wouldn't it be nice if they become superstars? Yet here we are. They're not yet. This franchise just can't seem to get out of its own way. The bad decisions seem to always outweigh the good ones. So yeah, I get it, dude. I respect your decision to walk away for a while and then come back when you actually have something to cheer for. I get that. I've been waiting for 40 years for that. And the only thing the only thing that keeps me going is the thought that when, and yes, I'm saying when, the Jackets become Cup contenders and maybe even win the Stanley Cup, the joy we are going to feel as Blue Jackets fans is going to far exceed the joy of any other fan base because of how long we have waited and how much we have suffered. After my last episode, where I praised the team and admitted I was wrong about a lot of things, the Jackets immediately started this free fall. Okay, I posted that episode right before the loss to the Islanders. So although I'm not the superstitious type, here's hoping that this episode does the opposite. I praised them in my last episode, and they started sucking. So now that I kind of ripped them a new one, maybe now they'll go on a long winning streak and make the playoffs. Maybe. That's it for me today, guys. Feel free to reach out to me if you have questions, thoughts, or suggestions for future topics. Or if you just want to chat about the Jackets, all right? Just find me on social media, Blue Sky, Instagram. My handle is WhalerJacket. You could shoot me an email, whalerjacket@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you. But for now, I'm going to sign off here. So goodbye from Boom and Gloom. Hope you come back and listen sometime. Hopefully the next time I record an episode, I will be ecstatic with good news, and the Jackets will be playoff bound. But I'm not holding my breath. So until next time, take care, and I'm going to say it. Here we go. Go Jackets.